they'll be upset initially, but that's okay. My name's Wagner. I'm a local dad. I've got 2 kids. Jack is in 3rd grade and Rocky's in 1st grade. They go here at Oakton Elementary. And I'm just really appreciative of you guys all coming out tonight. We have a lot of people that have great expertise in many different areas around kids and technology, and I think this will be a really great night. So thank you for coming, and we'll get started. We're going to start with, apparently if the speaker's over there, and if I turn around, my face blocks it or something, I don't know. But Principal Kelley is going to give the opening remarks for this evening. Thank you, Principal Kelley.
We'll see.
If you hold your hand up, it works.
Thanks, Brian. Well, good evening and welcome to Oakton Elementary. For those of you that are not from our school, I am Kelley, proud principal, and I am excited to have all of you here this evening. Tonight's panel is a part of an important conversation about the role of technology plays in the lives of our children. A conversation began this fall with a very small yet determined group of Oakton parents who shared a concern about the early exposure to phones and social media facing our young students. Since then, this group has built momentum, hosting playground meetups for parents and kids, organizing a game drive for our classrooms to encourage screen-free play during indoor recess, and working with our IT team to reduce the usage of laptops for schoolwork. Tonight's panel marks the culminating event of their efforts, and it's open to the entire community, so those of you, welcome, because we all recognize that navigating technology and childhood is not something that we can do alone. It takes collective action, it takes shared commitments, and it takes conversations like the ones we're going to start tonight. At Oakton, we are proud to support the academic, social, and emotional development of our students, and we know that technology is part of that story. But balance, boundaries, and community partnership is crucial. I want to thank our parent leaders, our panelists, and all of you for being here tonight and being part of this significant work. Thank you.
Thank you, Principal Kelley. All right, some stats. I think stats are helpful for tonight. I'm going to give you stats on you guys. Based on the registrations, we had 72 people RSVP to the event this evening. Of those registrations, those parents have 7 kids in pre-K, 7 kids in kindergarten, 20 kids in 1st grade, 17 kids in 2nd grade, 24 in 3rd, 19 in 4th, 13 in 5th, 13 kids in 6th grade, 4 kids in 7th grade, 3 kids in 8th grade, and 5 kids in high school. We run the gamut. We know that the questions and issues of a parent of a 1st grader is a bit different than the questions and concerns of a parent of a 7th grader or a high schooler, right? We're all parents. That's why we're here. But we want to be respectful and understand that everyone's coming from their own perspective, right? Their own starting point in their own family. Also, potentially representing here tonight, at least based on the RSVPs, and thank you for RSVPing if you did. We have parents of kids at Colvin Run Elementary, Cunningham Park, Flint Hill, Louis Archer, Mantua, Merritt, Mosaic, OLGC, St. Mark's, Vienna, Waples Mill, Westbriar, Wolf Trap, Thoreau Middle, Luther Jackson Middle, Madison High School, Oakton High School, and of course, Oakton Elementary. So, thank you all. It takes a village, truly, it takes a village. This is the change that we're seeking. It seems like a small change, but it's going to take all of us. And I'll say, like, how did we get started? How did you all end up here tonight? How did we end up doing this? Is because it's much tougher to do this alone than together. So that's why we're here. I think that's why you're here, and that's why we started this. Who are we? Who is this group? who is this person that keeps emailing me about this event? Yeah, that's me, probably. We started a little group. We're now called the Oakton Balance Project. What we're trying to do is create balance and give you guys more information about how to create balance in your own lives and your kids' lives, okay? When it comes to screens and technology and social media. I have a 3rd grader and a 1st grader at Oakton. Last summer, I had been thinking for a long time that, man, I don't think I want to get my kid a phone. Maybe that's you too. However, going into 3rd grade, I felt like I was sitting on railroad tracks and a train's coming at me. And this train is phones and social media and the whole gamut. And I noticed that when I talked to other parents, maybe the number one reason that other parents of older kids ended up getting their kids a phone is because they didn't want their kid to be left out. No one wants to be left out. No one wants to be the parent of a kid that gets left out, right? I get it. I thought of that, and I thought of my perspective of maybe I don't want my kid to get a phone, but how can I create an environment where he doesn't get a phone but also isn't left out? So I emailed the PTA, like everyone does. Help. Can you help? Got connected. I was lucky that one of my kids, Jack, was on the baseball team with Joy, and Joy was the past PTA president. She connected us to Bethany. Bethany's here, the current PTA president. And she said, you know, I just happen to have another Oakton parent reach out to me about the same thing. Why don't you guys chat and come back and see what we can do to help? That's how I got connected to Jen Cheng and Kelley, and we met at Starbucks in I don't know, September, October, last fall, and we started this little group. I call us the Renegades, right? Bandits of sorts. Off on our own, blazing our own trail. And from that, we've done a few things, and I'm gonna hand this over to the panel in just a moment. You guys are just sitting there like, what are we here for? But all right, I won't do much talking after this, I promise. I'll just be asking questions. What has the Oakton Balance Project done so far? And I'm telling you this, if you have kids that are outside of Oakton, perhaps you guys can start or jump into our community and build it up at your own schools as well. So far, starting in November was our first playground play date. I remember that because every playground play date we had for the first 4 months of these, we did once a month, was freezing. It was like 20 degrees. But once a month on Fridays, we would invite parents of the school to come out and chat about phones and what's your plans and what are you doing, what's your plan and what's your plan and how can we work together, and then the kids would just play, right? So we'd meet on the playground starting in November, and we've been doing that up till this month. We also worked with the school and Katie Tobin and Principal Kelley on the laptops at Oakton. If you are Oakton parents, maybe you know that a lot of your kids bring their laptops home every night. I have good news. I think I can say that that's not going to continue starting in the fall. Maybe Principal Kelley can confirm, maybe I shouldn't say it out loud, but starting in the fall, kids will not be bringing their laptops home after school every day unless necessary, okay? So that's a good win, small win for us. Also, we started to support the teachers in the school with additional games through a game drive for indoor recess. And we've been working with the school administration to update the students' rights and responsibilities to talk more about laptop use at home, on the school bus, in school, to be a little bit more specific about that. And lastly, the panel. This is kind of a culmination event of this year's activities. This will continue, right? And it doesn't stop just at Oakton. It continues throughout the community, right? So, all right. So the goal for this evening, I wrote down some notes. Lay a foundation for the group. Provide a balanced perspective of the issue of phones and kids so people can get informed and make the best decisions for yourselves and your families. I use this term. This is like Planet Fitness. This is a no judgment zone. You know, we get it. Everyone's doing their own thing, no judgment. It's also $10 a month to join. And I'm hoping that after tonight you'll have some actionable takeaways. Not just hearing perspectives of the people on the panel and our distinguished guests, but you'll have some actionable takeaways, some things that you can actually do right immediately when you get out of here. That could be how to talk to your kids about delaying. Other phone options that is not an iPhone or a high-tech phone, right? Are there low-tech phones, low-tech watches that you can consider? All right, page 2. And maybe some resources like books and podcasts and stuff like that. So we'll talk more about that as we get going. I'm going to introduce the panel. That's enough about me. All right, I had another mic, I don't remember where I put it. Over there. All right, I've been wandering, I'm sorry guys. All right, so actually, Ms. Dreiman, why don't you, is the mic on?
I think so. Can you guys hear me okay?
All right.
In the back? Okay, perfect.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Susan Dreiman. I'm a 3rd grade teacher here. Been a teacher here for I think 16 years or so. And I'm also a parent. I have a 16-year-old son who went here to school, K to 6, and then went off to Thoreau, and then he's now at Oakton High School. So yeah, I really want to be a part of it from a sort of a teacher perspective and a parent perspective too, because apparently I was the only parent at Thoreau that didn't let my son have a cell phone, according to him. I kind of found out I wasn't the only one, but you would never know it hearing my son. So I understand what, that pressure piece that parents can feel from their kids once they get to that age, maybe even a little bit younger than middle school. So. Happy to be here and just be a part of the conversation and again kind of reach for that. Chris kind of took the words out of my mouth. The healthy balance and boundaries that really have to be set by teachers and parents together for the kids because they cannot set it themselves very well. They need some skills to be taught that.
I am Tobin, and I am the school-based technology specialist here at Oakton. I also am a parent. I, however, have a 6-year-old and 8-year-old, so I too am really navigating this on the parent side as well as the school side. And it's something that at school we've really, we worked with Dale, the admin team, really kind of thinking about and how we can have that healthy balance, as Susan said. That is the big goal for me, is to help teachers and students create that healthy balance within the classroom.
Hi, I'm Jen Cahuantzi. I'm one of the school counselors here, and I have a 6-year-old in kindergarten and a 7-year-old in 1st grade, and they're here. And I am interested in this topic for them. I'm already seeing some of the repercussions from their fairly brief but iPad use, particularly when it comes to turning it off. And so I'm interested in the conversation for that reason, and also just seeing the impact that it has on students of all ages already with their friendship groups and how to manage conflict between them.
Hi, I'm Caitlyn Stewart. I'm 16 and I'm a sophomore at James Madison High School. And I was asked to be on this panel because currently I do not have a cell phone. So they wanted to just get my...
How is that possible?
So they just wanted to get my input and experience with going through elementary school and middle school and half of high school without a phone and how that has impacted me.
And then I'm Nathan Stuart, her older brother. I'm a senior this year, and yeah, I'm here to talk about kind of how it has been going through high school. I didn't get a phone until the very beginning of my junior year, so similar to Caitlyn.
Hi there, I'm Keena McAvoy. I live in Fairfax Station. I'm a former FCPS employee, actually, as a physical therapist in FCPS, but I've always considered myself a health educator. I have 3 adult-ish, emphasis on the ish, children. They're 20, 22, and 24, but we definitely navigated this piece, and they were, high schoolers during COVID, which threw a wrench into everything. But I remember thinking then, what is happening? This is not right. And so it's just so exciting and gratifying for me to see, remembering my experience then, to see this group here today. There's real steps being taken to address the problems that we're seeing. But so yeah, I worked as a physical therapist. I left that work, and this issue with technology and the developing brain has always been a big interest for me. So I got certified as a digital wellness educator, and then formed an advocacy group with a partner from Arlington County called DMV Unplugged. And so we are part of some nationwide advocacy groups, and just so much information and support, from really all over the country. It's just really, really growing. So we do that work together here in the area, and people are eager to hear, the science and the suggestions and those ideas. So I'm just grateful to be here to try to share some of that with you.
Thank you, Keena. Thank you, Keena. And was not on the original panel list, but in the last, I don't even know if I'm talking to them, like I have no idea. But we have 3 distinguished guests. Why don't we start with Officer Mike?
How you doing? I'm Mike Fox. I'm with the Fairfax County Police Department. I've been on the department now for 23 years. The last 10 years I've been assigned to our Major Crimes Bureau, and my current assignment is with the Child Exploitation Unit. It's probably the most rewarding assignment I have had up in the major crimes. I've worked on anything from robbery, homicide, to financial crimes. But to be able to see kind of a different part of this, to be able to help children try to navigate some of these online threats and help try to take people off the street that targets our juveniles and youth. So I bring a little bit of perspective on kind of both sides of this issue of the threats out there with social media, phones, and all that.
Thank you, Officer Mike.
And I'm Meredith Rawls. I'm a prosecutor in Fairfax County. I focus on prosecuting internet crimes against children. So I work really closely with Officer Mike's unit. So we've seen sort of a little bit of everything, and would love to talk about how to protect kids online.
And I am Liza Yang. I am a defense attorney at Greenspan, Shapiro, Ginsburg, and Yang in Fairfax. So Meredith likes to prosecute our clients, but we see all kinds of things that come back to the internet and social media in all kinds of cases. So here we are to see if we can help.
Yes. Thank you. Coworkers in a way. Interesting. It's like the Commanders and Cowboys. They're together on the field, but shake hands afterwards. All right. Well, let's get started. We'll get to it. We'll get to you guys momentarily. By the way, I heard that at 7:45 the air conditioning is turning on, so just hang tight. 7:45 the AC will be turned on. Oh, here it is. Okay. I'm going to start with Mrs. Dreiman. Oh, sorry, Susan. It's like you remember when I was a kid, might run into my teacher in the wild, like at the grocery store. Be like, wait, you exist outside of the school? So she asked me to call her Susan, and it's a struggle for me. So she's my son's 3rd grade teacher, Susan. First question for you is, what changes have you seen in students' attention spans, play skills, and emotional regulation over the recent years?
Thanks. So I mean, we're living obviously in a time where information can come so quickly to kids, which can have its benefit, if you're doing research on a country, let's say, and you're trying to find information quickly. But it's, it's that constant sort of quick information in all kinds of settings, games that kids are doing at home. So I think I could say that we've seen that lessening of trying to see something through over a longer duration, perhaps. At least, I'm with the younger grades, so I might not see the impact as much as perhaps older students that are spending more time on devices, maybe. But here we are in the library. We're so lucky to have this library here filled with books. I think that that's something that we really try to encourage with the kids that, I'm not going to say generally, but sometimes kids have a little less patience, I've seen, to go through an entire book. Like they want that information really quick. So, try to take advantage of the library as much as we can and really trying to, if they're 8 years old and 9 years old, but, trying to have something more long-term that the kids are kind of working toward. Because I think that is a little more difficult if I was to say something that I've seen as a potential change.
That makes sense.
Yeah, is it that longer term, kind of sticking with something a little bit longer? Yeah.
I'll throw in like my 2 cents here and there. I've really gone down a rabbit hole with this stuff the past like 9 months, and the stuff I've read that not only are youth, high school students, middle school, elementary, college students that are in the digital age, they're having trouble finishing a book. They're also now having trouble finishing a movie, which is crazy. But anyways, thank you for that. Does anyone else have a comment on the changes for kids from the last few years? Go ahead.
I will just say that there's many reports that employers of, new graduates are absolutely noticing a difference in terms of, this is a generalization, of course, but in terms of new graduates' ability to collaborate and to communicate and to persist. These are real impacts being seen. And when, a child can't, they're not being able to pay attention, these are skills that they're learning, how to do these things, and those skills are being hampered.
What did you see with your kids, who are, the youngest is 20? Did you notice anything with them and their friends?
Yeah, I noticed, we talk about it a lot. Just that it's like always feeling like they needed to have their AirPods in. So, like, no, you don't need to have your AirPods or your phone next to you when you're doing your homework. Absolutely seen those changes. Really having to encourage, while my daughter is 24, girls are just different sometimes, but she, a voracious reader, and they were all very good readers, but now I have to, it's like my 20-year-old and I just have like a little book club, like, okay, how many chapters did you read? And he knows it's, okay, I gotta put my phone down, I'm not gonna take my phone to bed, I'm gonna read this book instead. It's a struggle.
Thank you, Keena. Katie. So this is, I think, especially around laptops. Fairfax County has been promoting the one-to-one student-to-device initiative as a success. Maybe you guys are here, I'm preaching to the choir. I don't know. Maybe to me, I have other opinions, let's say. But that is the state that we're living in, right? The kids all have a laptop as young as kindergarten. So Katie, how do students respond to tech as a learning tool versus a tool for entertainment?
Okay, I took some notes so I wouldn't forget. I will say, like, the one-to-one, I know it is a struggle for some. It does, though, provide access to those that don't have access to these tools at home that may need it. But here, my job, and as an educator, all of us, our goal is looking at what's the purpose of our laptop. Our laptop is a tool. It's not for entertainment. And really, when we're planning instructionally, what's our purpose for why we're using the laptop? Is it, when we get past to the learning tool, we want it where students are engaged in their learning. They're using it to create, and it's not that passive, where they're just consuming, because a lot of times our kids are at home consuming. They're watching YouTube, they're watching Netflix, they're streaming things, right? And that's just a consumption. It's kind of passive use of our technology where they're just watching. But the goal here is with our laptops and our iPads is to make them learning tools where students are engaged. Again, that piece that they're creating. So when we're planning, I know Ms. Dreiman and I planned, her class was learning about the water cycle, and she wanted to give them a tool, a technology tool to create, and we decided on Wixie, which, if your child has come home and told you about Wixie, it's one of my favorite things because it is all about creation. And they were able to create and illustrate their water cycle, and then they could even record it to explain their thinking, because that also helps too, that, thinking about students that, maybe not writing's their best, but I can communicate in a different way and share that. So I think that's a big thing. Really looking at, is it a consumption piece or am I learning and am I engaged in what I'm doing with the laptop? That's the goal here.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Jen, you have a comment on that? Okay.
I didn't know if she was next.
No, we have, we'll miss everybody.
Didn't know.
No, you're good, you're good. Susan, do you want to chat on that or you're good?
No, I mean, she covered it. Again, it's a lot, it has its use. That's why we're talking about the balanced approach to it, right?
Yeah.
So, one of my coworkers reminded me, he said, remember back in the old days when we'd do like a project to research a state or a country and like we wheel a cart, from the library and pick your country and maybe it's there on the cart, but maybe it's a country that's not there that you really want to research. And now there's just so much information. Like I have someone today actually studying Mexico as one country, and it's like, wow, I can't. There's the flag, there's the symbol, there's all this stuff. It's almost like there's so much information, right? As opposed to I can't maybe find what I want to find. So it's using it, like you said, like as a tool.
Is it hard to keep them on task since there is like endless? It's not like you get to the end of a book and then you're at the end.
Yeah.
I would say it is at times, but one of the things is, again, when they're into that creation, they're more engaged. If I'm able to go in and I'm creating something, and again, it's that purpose where it's not I'm just watching something and consuming it, it helps with the distractions. I know too, like when I go in and we do a lot of digital citizenship lessons and talking about a healthy balance, and one of the things I talk about is, well, if I am working on Myon to get some research, I have Myon open. I don't have 3 other tabs open because that to me is going to also distract me. Not saying that it's going to work for everyone, but that's just kind of a tip that I share with students, and I know teachers do, is, okay, well, let's think about the task at hand. How am I going to stay engaged in that task? I have this and this. Again, no, like, I feel as if as long as we are trying to have those opportunities where students are in that creation phase and that critical thinking, that it helps with the off task.
Okay. Thank you. And I can imagine a lot of scenarios where I know if I was a student with a laptop and doing my research on Mexico, and then it would just a Control-T, open up a new tab to go search for like Minecraft videos or information, or like I'm like one click away from the world at my fingertips. I imagine that's a struggle to oversee.
We lay down that rule pretty quick.
Yeah.
And can't say it's foolproof all the time, but, and again, I teach 3rd grade, so every grade might be a little bit different. But there's a lot of instruction that goes in to like tell the kids ahead of time, this is what we're doing. This is the only task that we're doing right now.
Right.
So.
I will just add that like middle school and high school, that is a huge problem, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Huge.
It's a huge problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I have friends and people in my classes that they've gotten around the school's safeguards to block games, and they'll just play Fortnite for an hour and a half or play Minecraft with each other. And
During school?
during school, like in the back of the class, they'll just 3 or 4 of them will just line up with their computers and just play Minecraft.
And I'm not here to judge, but I'm guessing your friends are not like known for riffraff at Madison High School. So they're probably like the more like thoughtful kids, and they're falling. It's so easy, right?
Yeah.
Anyone. You have Minecraft or Fortnite, or you can learn about photosynthesis or something. What are the options?
And I will
Thank
add,
you.
I'm sorry, I was just gonna add one other thing, and this is just to reinforce like how difficult this is to stay, for you to stay focused on very, wonderful and, valuable goals. I'm on the School Health Advisory Committee for SCPS, and there's a counselor on that, I can't remember, well, it doesn't matter what school, but she was telling me how they had to deal with, in elementary school, they had to deal with an issue of a child showing another child how to access a porn site on their laptop. So stuff like that is absolutely happening.
School issue laptop.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt here, because I'm in the tech industry. I I build software all day long, and I can tell you now that every computer that I issue to any employee is completely locked down. Why isn't the county actually locking down sites that prevent from those things? Because you absolutely can, and it takes like 5 minutes to do so. So we're talking about things that are actually controlled, can be controlled by the county. Well, I'm here to learn about this stuff, about how to make sure that my kid, who is very self-conscious and very self-aware of all the kids that have the things, we're talking about things that the county can control. That's like a switch. All you have to do is get it approved, and all of a sudden, all the laptops that are issued to one-on-one, because I think kids should have a laptop, because there's so many kids that don't have one. Why isn't the school, why isn't the board actually doing things to actually limit the laptops that are
I
being
actually
handed out?
disagree with your statement. But you just heard what Nathan just said, right? Like, you might think I'm not trying to insult you in any way. You might think he's locked it down.
Yeah, on the web, on any computer, you absolutely can lock almost anything. There's not, you can't even get onto Facebook, Instagram, or any social media site in my organization at all.
Yeah.
It is impossible. Now, on your cell phone, your personal use, that's different, but an issue, that's what I'm saying. A school issue laptop is like Google Chrome. Google Chrome can't do a whole lot of things, but if someone is issuing,
I'm gonna put a pin on. I'm gonna put a pin on this. This is a very fair question. I think it's a very fair question. Better served for FCPS Board of Supervisors.
but we're all here to try to figure out what's going on.
We're here to absolutely. That's what we're here for, right? We want to figure out what's going on so you can all make the best decisions on how to the type of oversight that we can all provide to our kids and in the school. I think that's a good thing to, let's put a pin on that, and we'll try to address that in a follow-up. Go ahead, Megan.
Can I ask just one question? Does anyone know how we could reach someone who could take volunteers, who know how to, potentially put some blocks up? Maybe we could make a connection eventually, not from this panel, because we have other questions to address, but.
Yes.
My best guess was we do have an FCPS cybersecurity team, and I'll be honest, I don't know much. I'm on the instructional end for technology, so that's not my expertise at all. So there is an Office of Cybersecurity where we do have, there's filter, right? And it's different. They filtered elementary, middle, and high school. The content filtering is different, and again, I can't speak to all of that because I'm not sure how they filter it. And we do have a lot of tech-savvy kids. Luckily at Oakton, it's usually harmless. But I would say cybersecurity they might be able to give you more details about how and what they have to for their content filter.
Where's Jen?
Because I
Can you note down? Let's take this as an action item for the group. We can work on this. I thank you for bringing that up. All right. Go ahead.
One thing all of our teachers have access to is something called Lightspeed, which is basically an extension on all of our computers, which makes it so they're able to monitor all of our screens and are able to close tabs and keep us on task. Not all of my teachers use it, and they have not used it all year, and it's not everyone uses it, and I'm not sure if anyone else has access to this, but it is a resource that is available for people to use.
We do have that here. Our teachers use it. I also, at the elementary level, that's your last resort, right? We're trying to teach them that healthy balance and to be actively teaching and up and about, so you don't have to sit at your computer just monitoring, because then, we're sending that mixed message. I'm sitting there just staring at my computer, where we want our teachers to be up and active. So that, again, they use a mix of that to try and balance that management.
Thank you.
I just had a quick comment. I know parents, you can sign up to get that Lightspeed email as well.
And I do believe that there's a movement right now to make that an opt-out, so that you automatically receive that report, and then you have to, which is preferable, I think.
I think the more that we have these conversations with FCPS and the county as a whole, we need to make the change, right? We have to voice these things to them and continue the mission, right? All right. Along those same lines, Jen, the behavior behavioral and emotional symptoms that you receive from kids due to heavy screen use and tech use. Do you want to talk about that or anything else that you see in your day-to-day role as a counselor?
Sure. Well, I will say it's a little bit challenging to differentiate between some of the behaviors that I see. You know, is it because of age or a whole slew of things, or due to screen use or heavy screen use? But I would say, I think we could probably all agree that anxiety is up among people in general. And I often see more irritability among students, and peer conflict, low self-esteem. And I'll share a personal experience. About 10 years ago, I was in a program to become a certified life coach, and I was 40 at the time. And before we could see clients, we had to be a client. And one of the exercises that we had to do was to keep what's called a feelings log. And so for 2 weeks, every 30 minutes, you write down what you're doing and how you feel. And I would say overall for those 2 weeks, I felt, pretty content, happy, joyful, peaceful, relaxed, motivated. And the times of on those sheets that I logged that I was feeling down or depressed or unmotivated, I was on my computer, like looking at social media, Facebook or Instagram at the time. And it was really eye-opening that as soon as I turned it off and I got up and was really participating in my day in a different way, my mood shifted immediately. I think it also impacts our students in a way that it's almost like a different life here at school, and then like the same friend group has a different world that they communicate in or interact in outside of school. So the group chats, we have had some issues with students recently that they're conversing outside of school, and then the way that they act in school is completely different. It ends up being a real distraction in the classroom, not just for those students that were involved in the communication, but the entire class, because they either want to know what has happened. There's a lot of talking when the teacher is trying to deliver instruction. This was happening during in an AAP class and during SOL review.
What grade? Can you say?
6th grade.
6th grade.
So the students are wanting to come and talk to me to sort of work through some of the issues that they're having with their friends. They don't necessarily want to talk to the friend in person to resolve the issue, so they're going back and forth between each other. The teacher is hearing about it, so it drags on and on until we made a decision, the teacher and I, that like this group of students will come to my room and we're going to sit down and we're going to have an open conversation about what's happening, what their individual part was, what they could do differently next time, so that they could just air it out and we could wrap it up and get back to focusing on instruction.
I've heard that group chats are the entry to communication over phones for a lot of the elementary school kids, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade.
Yeah, and I really don't know a whole lot about that. I will say that because my kids aren't there yet. But I have noticed in the upper grades, it is harder for them to have in-person conversations with each other than sometimes they'll be in the same room or in the same car or at the same basketball game and they're standing away from each other, but they're on their phone talking to each other rather than just, going up and standing next to each other. I think one of the unintended consequences is just learning how to answer a phone. None of us really have to do that unless we have that as part of our, in our job. Otherwise, you know who's calling and just say, hey. But for, someone who eventually is going to be in a professional work setting and needs to learn how to answer the phone and say hello and, have a smile on your face because they can see it through the other line, and ask who's calling to actually have a brief encounter over the phone with someone is not something that kids really have to learn anymore right now.
Very good, thank you, Jen.
I have a quick question.
Go ahead. Hi.
If it's a well-known fact among experts and most adults that this is damaging our kids. Why the county don't take the initiative and issue recommendation at a minimum or even a rule? You know, in and around the
so
school.
I'm gonna jump on that real quick. This, just a level set expectations, this group, we are not Oakton Elementary, we are, this Oakton Elementary and Principal Kelley, we are hosted at the school today. Our group is not the Fairfax County School District associated, we're not associated with the school district, we're not directly associated with the school in any way, right? We are a group of parents that are sitting among you who are interested in learning more about how to talk to your kids about phones, about the potential harms of phones and social media and internet access, the group chats and all these things that maybe we have a first grader and we don't know what's coming when they're in 4th grade and 5th grade. So if you have any questions, I think these are all fair. The FCPS type questions and the county related questions, write them down. Let's talk, bring them to us, and we can use it. Think of us more of like an advocacy group, and we can work with you for those, but let's table those types of questions, and I'll talk to you one-on-one after and try to help you out, and we'll work together for those, but thank you. All right, I wanted to talk to, I was gonna say the kids. maybe not. I think Nathan's taller than me, but yeah. All right, Nathan and Caitlyn. I've got 2 questions for you guys. How are phones and social media, or how have phones and social media affected friendships and emotional health among your peers at school? You guys go to Madison High School, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So can you speak to that?
Yeah, sure. So phones definitely have a very positive impact of being able to like connect friends and make it easier to like plan like hangouts and stuff. But I have seen like lots of kids just on social media routinely. It's just like a common thing to see people like walking through the hallways, or, like in the cafeteria at lunch, just on their phones. And high school does have lots of regulations in place where you're supposed to put your phones up in like a cell hotel area during class, so you're not allowed to like be on it during class.
How do kids get around that?
Many kids just don't put their phone up, but if a teacher sees it, then the teacher will like tell them to put it away. So they're not just like allowed to be on their phone.
Or they have 2 phones, burner phone and then their actual phone.
But I have seen some kids take off their case and put their case in so they can actually be on their phone, or they have multiple phones and they just put up one of them, or they bring like an iPad to school and just are on their iPad. That's not the majority of people. There are always people who try and get around things though. But for the most part, during like passing periods and during lunch and during like our study hall periods, kids are just allowed to be on their phones. So you do just see people like scrolling on social media.
If you were to guess, so how long is a study hall period?
It's like an hour.
Just over an hour.
So we'll call it an hour. How many minutes in an hour are kids studying, or are kids, just this is a guesstimate, right? In your view of what you see versus on their phone or doing other internet-related activities?
There's a big divide. I would say maybe 25% of students use study hall as a study hall or to visit teachers, and the other 75 just meet up in groups and then like play a game on their phone altogether, or sit at a table and just don't talk to each other and just scroll on social media. And it really limits the contact, like the actual interpersonal contact kids have with each other.
Yeah, and I think we can all, like, I'm 41, I think maybe you guys are similar age. Think back to when we were in high school and had study halls, and we might have been sitting with our friends and going through books and maybe highlighting things, didn't have access. I always think like, man, if I could have brought a Game Boy to school, I would have just been on that thing all the time. And that's basically what their kids have in their pockets all day, calling to them all day. It's understandable why they would do that, but that's what we're dealing with in the conversations that we want to learn about what's coming, right? All right, thank you, Caitlyn and Nathan. All right, where are we at? 7:22. I'm hopeful to have time for questions at the end, unless you have a specific question about something we just addressed. All right, let's go. You know what? I'm going to deviate. I want to go to our distinguished guests of the law. Thank you for joining us today. So I have some questions specific to you guys. I'll start with Liza and Meredith. So there are children in the room, so we're going to make sure that the answers that they give are child appropriate, but they might be saying some things that are like real, right? That there can be real repercussions to internet activity for 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 14-year-olds, right? All right. What types of cases involving kids and phones and social media are you seeing more frequently today than you did 5 or 10 years ago? Change in type of cases. Officer Mike.
So, one of the biggest changes I've seen in the last 5 years is especially dealing with juveniles, high school age, down to middle school, a little bit elementary school, but not as much so, is our online extortion of these juveniles. They get involved in chats, either on Instagram, Snapchat, you name it, whatever social media platform that they're using. They believe they're talking to an individual who reels them in, and there might be some photographs that are sent that would be inappropriate. That person on the other side now has all their friends list and their family, and they threaten they will send these photographs to their friends and family if they don't send them money. I have seen personally work cases where kids have, and when I mean kids, I'm talking anyone from younger all the way up to high school, teenagers.
How young?
9.
Yeah, 9. Probably 9 is probably the youngest I've seen it. They'll have access to their parents' bank accounts. We all have, parents will link their cards to their kids' phones for Apple Pay and whatever they need it for. That money now, they're freaking out. What am I going to do? I can't have these photos. I can't have my parents. They're sending money to these groups. Sometimes these groups still send the photos to their friends. That causes significant psychological damage to these kids, to the point where some kids have taken their own lives because they feel like this is the end. They're not going to be able to live having these photos out there. So that is something I've seen in the last 5 years, a huge spike in this online extortion stuff, and it's dangerous and scary.
Yeah, and we've also seen where someone takes a photo of a kid, makes it look like they're doing something embarrassing, and says, I'm gonna send this to your friends, and they'll think that you're actually doing this embarrassing thing, unless you send me photos of you, more photos of you. And
Think of like the most embarrassing.
Yeah,
right.
Embarrassing is a word.
Yeah.
Word.
And yeah, it's the same spiral into just feelings of hopelessness, like they're trapped, like they can't get out. It's really, really important for parents to be involved and have conversations that, you can bring anything to me, so that if they get into a situation like that, they feel like there's a way out. And just be, involved in online activity as well. So that if something inappropriate gets sent to your kid, you're right there to intercept, to report, and use that as a teaching moment if that happens.
So we've seen all kinds of things having to do with the internet and apps. I think it's important to note that it's not only Snapchat and Discord and apps like that are scary. We get a lot of scary things through Instagram as well, which is, I think, supposed to be one of the less scary social media apps. We had a client who was a teenager himself who started at age 13, I think. He would
find girls on social media, and he'd say they'd get to know each other through direct messaging, say send me a picture, and then that would escalate. And so if you don't send me a picture, I'm gonna put this on the internet. From our perspective, this kid is also a teenager, and if he didn't have access to these apps, then he never tried to meet up with anybody, he never did anything inappropriate in person. So if he didn't have all that access to these apps, then, this would have probably not happened, and he could have, whatever the issue was in his mind, and a lot of it is mental health related on both sides, I think you would even admit that, right? Would come out in a different way so that he could have gotten help that didn't harm other people. I just spoke to somebody this week whose daughter had a picture of two other teenagers who were doing embarrassing things together. And she went on Instagram Live with 12 or 14 other kids, these are like 14, 15-year-olds, and showed that picture. And now she's facing criminal charges. So this is when I think back
Not in Fairfax.
Not in Fairfax. No, I'm not talking about any Fairfax cases. She had, I think back to when I was in high school and there's gossip in the hallways, right? But nothing is online, and now it's all online, and the internet does not forget. I think a lot of the kids, from what I'm hearing from our younger clients, they're communicating only through Snapchat or almost exclusively through Snapchat. It's not text messaging anymore. Snapchat doesn't actually delete your data. Everybody thinks it does, but you can get it. It's maybe not easy to get it, but I can let Meredith and Officer Mike speak to that. But once it's on the internet, it's on the internet, and I think that's something that has to be reinforced over and over and over with kids probably starting at age 9. But it's not only embarrassing things, it's also drugs and other illegal activity. Bullying, kids can get scammed. I had a ugly protective order case among 14-year-olds, and I was representing the child who was accused of honestly professing his love to another girl. And he was scammed into sending codes to his social media to somebody who ended up, the VPN came back, who was like Nigeria or something. But that person who got his code was able to log into his Snapchat and then reached out to the girl that he wasn't allowed to have contact with, and then he's charged with a criminal offense. So it's easy to get tricked, especially if you're lonely and feeling down and you're going through a lot of the mental health, esteem issues that a lot of teenagers have.
Yeah. Related question. I think you'll probably talk about this. We talked about specific takeaways from tonight. What specific apps are you seeing in your roles a lot?
So we're seeing a lot of Instagram, Snapchat, but really it's anything that has any type of functionality to be able to communicate with another person. So Discord servers,
Google Drive.
Yeah, Google Drive. Roblox, that was my next one. Yes, we've had several cases of kids being harmed by people that they met on Roblox.
I thought Roblox was safe.
Oh, Roblox is not safe.
Like saying Fortnite is safe.
Yeah.
Usually they have the chat window, anything that pops up on any game, Madden, you put Madden online, if you can communicate with another individual on online play, you're at risk.
Yeah,
No matter
that's
what
true.
age you are.
And so, whenever you get to the point where your kids are, using these apps where they can communicate with other people, again, it's so important that you keep an eye on those things, because kids are not good at estimating risk, just like in general, right? They're even worse about estimating risk online, where you don't see the person that you're talking to, you're not hearing the tone of voice, those kinds of things. And so they, end up in really vulnerable places. I will say, I have a story of something where parent surveillance helped out a ton. There was a young man, he was 14 years old. He received some inappropriate content on Snapchat. He brushed it off. He didn't engage with it, didn't think it was any big deal, just some weirdo on the internet. And so he personally was not really affected by it. But his parents saw the inappropriate content. They reported it to the police. They found someone who had been hurting children for over 20 years. That man is in jail and will spend 10 years, at least 10 years in prison, hopefully the rest of his life.
And that's around here. That's local.
That's local, that's in Fairfax County. So, like, even if your kid, you know, is not the one that's being harmed, you can still play a huge role in helping out, just keep the online community safe in general.
Yeah, and just kind of piggyback on that. If your kids do have, or any of us here have, you know, the social media apps, make sure you go through and turn the location data off.
Yeah.
Snapchat, if you can go on a Snapchat, and if your location is that on, you can find where that person is up to their being in their bedroom in their house. You can zoom in.
So anyone on Snap, if you're friends on Snapchat, you
If
can see
you're
where.
friends on Snapchat and their location is shared on Snapchat, you can see where that
So
person
if you end up being, your kid ends up being friends on Snapchat with someone that isn't actually who they say they are, they have access to your house.
Your location. We talked about Instagram and messaging. Instagram is also a huge issue now. More teenagers are using Instagram and other apps other than Facebook. You know, Facebook is more for our age. It's for our age. They're not using Facebook.
You guys know what Facebook is?
They're not using Facebook.
You can read about it in the library.
However, those apps, like on Instagram, they're doing a lot of their communication. Drugs, you mentioned about drugs.
Yeah.
When I worked robberies, we had huge problems with people meeting up through Instagram. They're either selling drugs, they're selling something, and then they either get robbed. And all the shootings I've worked is where people were buying drugs, or teenagers in this county buying drugs on Instagram, and they ended up getting shot and robbed.
I have a question for you guys. Hold on.
I was just gonna ask about, like, there's like a kids messenger or something, my kids are not using it, but is that something that's a concern, or do you not see it?
I mean, we see so many different, there's new apps all the time. And, you know, kids always want to try like new things too. So just, again, being involved is super important. Know what the apps are on the phone. Know who they're talking to on the phone. And, you know, don't rely on your kids, say, oh, it's no big deal, right? Like, look it up, see what it does, see what it's about, how it works. Yeah.
And there was some material that was passed out that there are some resources and tools out there to try to help monitor your kids' apps. None of them are free. None of them are free, but that will help. And you know, it also takes your kids' aspect. If you download one of these, like for Bark, you could all fill it all out, but your kid also has to put their stuff in it as well, like the number to be able to share. So there will be some type of, you just can't download the app and say, okay, I'm gonna monitor my kid's stuff. There's gonna have to be your kid also agreeing to it as well. But there are tools out there that at least help try to combat some of this.
I'll say in general, it sounds like that oversight, parental oversight, very important. And it's harder, the more Snapchatty the app is, the more challenging it is to have parental oversight. Kids Messenger app, perhaps a little bit more easier for the parent to have oversight of those apps like that. If they're messaging like cousins or local friends or something like that, it can be more in a controlled environment.
And the amount of information that goes through these kids' messaging, minutes. If they have Snapchat, there was recently, this made the media, we probably all heard, there was a stabbing at West Potomac High School in Fairfax County. That stabbing was caught on video. The kid recorded it. That video, before I was on that case, before I even saw it, kids in Prince William County were like, hey, you know, that video went from Fairfax County to western Prince William County in a matter of 20 minutes. And everyone knew about it. So just consider that as well. I mean, the amount of information and speed this stuff goes on. It's pretty scary.
All right, I'm gonna switch to advice. Okay, so now, I feel like we're in an episode like Scared Straight.
Yeah.
All right. So what are some? Where am I? What are some of the most common mistakes that kids and/or parents make that end up getting them or their families in trouble with, and they end up getting in front of you guys?
Yeah. So as part of that, parent involvement, keeping devices in sort of public areas within the home. So, not letting them have them in their rooms at night. Have them charged in the family room. Go through messages every once in a while. Again, this is not about not trusting your child. This is about not trusting everybody else on the internet, right? I wear a seatbelt not because I'm a bad driver. I think I'm a pretty good driver, but I wear a seatbelt because I don't trust other people on the road. Those are sort of the big things that I see.
Again, oversight, like she said, if your kids, just say they don't even have a cell phone, but they're playing a video game, and on the video game, they are chatting with other people on the video game. We have a lot of instances, I would say, they're called swatting calls in Fairfax, where we'll get a call to an address, and it says there's a shooting at the address, and so all the police come, and then the residents are getting taken out at gunpoint, and the root of it was nothing happened there, but their kid was playing a video game, made someone mad, whoever, and was able to figure out who they are, call 911 in Fairfax County and report this crime. Alleged crime. So a lot of this happens through video games.
And is it because of location search this, or like how do they figure it out?
Honestly, I don't know that answer. I don't know that answer. They do, and they're good at it.
Yeah, and there's, a little bit of sort of operational security on the kids' end too. Like, don't share your full name, don't tell them where you live. I think even Fairfax, don't share that with people online. Those kinds of things, like those are private in-person type conversations. That's not stuff to be shared online.
And that, I was just gonna add, that's something, part of our digital citizenship, we start even in kindergarten, is talking about that privacy, right? And that's something again, to work as a team, but we tell kids you never give anyone your name. Even here, your username, we talk about your password, you don't tell anyone your password, because that's your private information, you keep that secure. So we do that starting, kindergarten, first grade, to make sure that, they learn that. And I'll say, we've had instances where the kids here share their passwords, and so-and-so gets on, but again, that's a teachable moment. We're in elementary school, and that's kind of the big thing. I have that conversation hey, we did this now, but I'm happy you did it now here, so now you can learn from that, so you don't make that mistake when you're older, with more development.
Yeah. Go ahead, Liza.
I think that everything about oversight is correct. We often tell our clients, adult and kid clients, that they can't be on social media, even if it's not ordered by the court. Take your child's cell phone from them, don't let them have it. And the kids are panicking in their conference room, and they're shaking, what am I gonna do without my phone? And even the parents will often say, well, how am I gonna communicate with my kid? They need their phone, they need it for their homework. They don't need their cell phone for their homework. They might need a laptop, but they don't need their cell phone. They're going to be okay if they don't have social media. Will probably be better if they don't have social media, they just don't know it. So limiting the amount of time on their phones, it's all gonna be a fight, I think. Dan and I were talking about that.
It's gonna be a battle. Once you give your kid a phone, some of you guys have children with phones, there's gonna be a battle. Before you give your kid a phone, there's a battle about giving your kid a phone. You just have to choose your battle, right? So there's gonna be a battle. Your kid wants a phone. It's they want ice cream, they want a cookie, they want this thing that is the access to the entire world, but what they don't realize is it gives the world access to them, right? So I'll say a couple things real quick. 1 second. I went to Viva Vienna, and I worked a booth over Viva Vienna for our group to spread the word. Maybe some of you guys I ran into there. And the most interesting conversations I had were with 4 19-year-olds and a 20-year-old that stopped by the booth and wanted to chat. And I asked them a couple questions. I said, how old were you when you got your first phone and social media? And then I asked, okay, let's say you were my neighbor. I have a 9-year-old. When should I get him a phone? When should I let him on Snapchat and social media? All 5 said, wait. Do not get your kid a phone as long as you can, and keep them off social media. These are 4 19-year-olds and a 20-year-old. They're like, they said, without a doubt, specific apps, they said, never let them on Snapchat, never let them on Discord, never let them on Reddit. Yeah, I never thought about that. And they're like, we have so many friends that are just getting destroyed by things that are happening on their phones, and we have had those experiences too. So I'll say that. I wanted to save some time for Q&A. I know it's 7:43.
Can I just add one thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
I would say the most important message that I would bring tonight for you is, I'm not sure if this is on, is to
You can
delay.
raise your hand.
Is to delay.
Yeah.
And that's it. And it's not just
I love that.
because of these very real, awful things
Well, if they weren't on social media.
that happens,
Yeah.
and it's not just that. It's the, if your child, even if they're, spending 2 hours watching puppy videos on YouTube, that is still messing with their dopamine cycle. That's still keeping them from engaging in real life, interactive, physical play with their peers, which is what their brains require from them. So especially like up until at least through puberty, till you're like upper high school, because that is a period of time when a child's brain is wiring up. They're figuring out who they are, they're figuring out what they're going to pay attention to, who they're going to pay attention to, and if they have a phone with social media, that thing is designed to keep them engaged as long as possible. Like, those designers know exactly what they're doing. They know about neuroscience and psychology. They know how to keep kids, or us, engaged. And it's not, it's not preparing them for the future. It's not, it's making tons of money for technology executives who don't allow their own kids to have these products because they know how they're designed.
Thank you, Keena. And I'm going to give you guys all a chance if you have anything else, the distinguished panel. But 1 second, I'm gonna do some crowd work. Hey guys. Hey, it's me from over there. I'm actually, hold on 1 second. Marie, hi Marie, nice to meet you. I'm going to stop this. It's skinny. Okay, all right, so Jill, hi Jill. Jill has kids at Vienna and Louise Archer. Her kids are my kids' age, and they've been friends since they were babies. They went to daycare together. And Jill's job, she works in middle school. Dun, dun, dun. She's a school counselor for Cooper Middle and McLean. And Jill was telling me some interesting things. I'd like to give her a second. If you can, are you open?
Yeah.
All right, so I want to talk about TikTok challenges.
Yeah.
All right, so we haven't talked about TikTok today. I'm not on TikTok, but Jill has some experience, so here you go, Jill.
Yes. Okay. Well, I was telling Dale recently that, middle school age, obviously we have the phone use problem, computer, all the things, but, they're very easily influenced, and there's a lot of TikTok challenges that have been going on. The most recent one was trying to destroy school computers by sticking like metal objects into the USB ports. I don't want to call it Cooper here, but I think it was a middle school issue that was going around Lake County and probably other counties as well. There was another TikTok issue where they were.
And how many, like, is this like one kid has a destroyed laptop?
It was more than one. Not a huge number at all, but enough that, there was a community-wide email, I will say that. And then there was also a TikTok challenge, you know, challenging students to destroy school property. So there's a lot of things that these kids are really susceptible to. And if I can add just one thing of what I've noticed, but you know, the waiting till 8th movement, I think is a really, it's just something to consider. I know with my own kids, like I'm gonna try to delay as much as possible.
They want you to actually wait until after 8.
Wait until after 8?
Yeah.
Love that. Okay.
Yeah.
But one of the challenges in middle school is, you know, we have 7th and 8th graders, and I will say that most of them have phones in the mornings. We have an away for the day policy that I think most middle schools have now. So the phones are completely away, and I think they are at the age where I would say the vast majority are following that, and we've seen a huge difference this year. They're not on their phones in the hallway, probably like high school a little bit. They're not allowed at lunch, and it just seems like everyone's in a better mood and lighter. But you know,
but still destroying their laptops. It is kind of funny. I think back to when our kids were, I don't know, 2 or 3, and you would just laugh at the things that end up coming out of your mouth. You're like, please don't put that rock in your mouth, or like, why are you chewing on tree bark, or like, please stop doing. And then we forget that like they're still kids when they're 14, right? And they're still susceptible to these challenges and social pressures, and then you have to end up saying like, please don't put a metal fork into your school laptop USB port. So it's just funny how it's a full circle. I have one other thing for you, Jill, while I'm here, staring at the back of your head. Group chats. I think of group chats as like, is it weird for me to say, the gateway drug into like social internet access, community chatter, and I question whether it's good or not. I wonder. I know that a lot of the reasons, well, I've heard it from my peers that have kids my kid's age in elementary school, is they don't want their kid getting left out of the group chat, right? I get it. I wouldn't want mine either, but I think of it this way, and I'll let Jill speak to the middle school group chat craziness that's coming for us, but you're going to be left out. If you're in the group chat, or if you're out of the group chat, you're going to be left out. And I think that that's how I plan to talk to our kids about it, is if don't have a phone and don't have access to the group chats, you're left out. If you have access to the group chats, guess what? You're going to be left out. Either way, right? Choose your battle.
Are you from the high school or something?
Hold on. She can talk to group chats with middle school.
Well, and I was thinking about the elementary school counselor up there when you were talking about anxiety, but I think one of the biggest things I've seen in middle school with anxiety is really, a lot of it's related to the group chats. You know, being in a group chat with your friends and then someone dropping one person and then adding them back in but not telling the rest of the group and then, you know, talking. So there's just a lot going on and their brains just aren't ready for this and it's causing a lot of anxiety. And I would say that's a bulk of what I'm dealing with in middle school right now.
Group chat drama? Go ahead.
So, quick question. I have no problem saying no to my son. Actually, he's in class with your son.
Oh, nice.
So,
which one?
Caitlyn.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm okay saying no to him, and I want to delay. I never want him to be on social media. I worked in communications for over 15 years. I use it on the communication side to sell things, so I know how it is, and it's awful. I never want him to use social media ever. But you know, and I want to delay a phone. But my fear is I'm okay delaying, you know, getting him a phone. But what if another, you know, peer of his puts him, you know, does something like takes his photo, does something to it, sends it around, like, you know, and he doesn't have a phone, he's not on social. How, you know, what do I do then? Because, you know, I can't control what another parent does, and I do think this really falls more on parents and how we're raising our kids. In collaboration with our community and schools, but this is parents have
I think this is a good question, Caitlyn's mom, Maria. I'm gonna ask another resident parent expert times 8 to answer. The parent of the middle school, high school folks, and 2 high schoolers, I guess. Sorry, former middle school graduates, to take that. How do you handle the conversations with your kids? If you don't mind. He's our HOA president, by the way.
Wow. Big question,
That's
all
hard.
encompassing
That's
question.
really hard, like, what can you do?
What can you do?
What can you do?
The reality
But
is gonna
that's-
happen either way,
The
whether you have a
reality
cell phone or
is-
not, if someone else is
It's
doing
a
something you can't
collective-
control.
It's a tool, and what's the purpose of the tool, and what do you choose to care about? I mean, it sounds a little callous, but I have to choose, there's too many things to focus and divide your attention. So what do I care about, what do I choose to emphasize? And a tool like cell phones, like it's a phone. Like in our household, what's the purpose of a phone? It's to call someone. Yes, it can do tremendous amounts of stuff. There's more firepower here than we sent people to the moon with. But
He works for NASA.
previously. What do we choose to use it for? It's a tool. You can choose to use it for good or bad, but in our household, it's a phone. And so they get a phone when they're away from home and they can drive themselves. So when they get their driver's license, they get a phone to call us, hey Dad, there's an emergency, I'm broken down or something. Other than that, use a computer in a public space. That's what we do. There's too many avenues and ways for things to get in, and so we've tried to simplify it with that.
Keena?
Yeah, I was just
You have a
gonna
mic. Thank
add
you.
that one way, like, you know, the collective action piece, you know, is really important just in terms of, you know, supporting each other and acknowledging like, wow, this is tough, we're doing the best we can, but to agree. So for example, maybe that's less likely to happen if you know, your kid's going to a sleepover and you know it's a tech-free sleepover. You know, like, okay, we're arranging this and this is what we've all agreed that we're gonna do. When we have, you know, social gatherings together, it's without technology. You know, I have friends that they, you know, collect their, you know, 9th graders, all their friends' cell phones when they come in the door. So that eliminates some of that stuff. And the parents of those girls were just thrilled. You know, they just loved it. And it's hard, but, you know, a lot of this is really hard.
It takes thought, right? Planning, having I'll get to you. You'll get the next question. I'll talk as I walk over. The planning part and thoughtfulness in your house of, do we have phones at the dinner table? All of us, even adults. Maybe if we are to have kids that are in high school, should they have connected devices in their room when they close the door?
No.
Right? As the legal expert. And having ideas around when kids come over, right? You don't want your kids, maybe you're a no phone family, but you have their friends all have phones or Apple Watches or whatever. It's okay. You can, I would say, I know it's hard, but we're here, we're choosing the hard route by being here tonight. So think about, like, all right, can I communicate with these other parents and say, hey, when your kid comes over, we'd love to have them over. We're just going to put the phones in the basket, and if you need to reach them, just call me, right? Type of thing. So, all right. Go ahead. Hi, Ashley.
Hi. I just wanted to hear from the students, what was it like not having a phone, and like what do you feel like were the social consequences
I love that.
of that? Yeah.
Did you know any? So, Caitlyn, you're finishing up 10th grade, right? And Nathan, congrats, pretty much graduated. Right. Where are you going to school next year?
BYU, Idaho.
BYU. All right. BYU, Idaho. Very good. Caitlyn, do you know any other 10th grader at Madison High School that does not have a phone?
I do not, no.
Okay. All right. So, think about that.
So what was it like? That's what we want to hear.
Okay, so in middle school, I definitely did have some friends that also did not have phones. And that was also at the very end of COVID, so no one was really hanging out or anything. But once people started like hanging out again, I would just get like my parents to go talk to their parents and set up things. But it definitely was harder to like set up like get-togethers, like play dates basically, just with any of my friends, just because I didn't have a phone to talk to them quickly. But for the most part, I still felt pretty connected like with all my friends at school, because we also had like away for the day policies, so they would all just put their phones away and I could just like interact with them at school. But
socially though, because not having a phone is one thing connecting with peers, but I have a daughter who's really self-conscious, who wants to fit in, and is bullied currently in her classroom. And she's a 5th grader. So my question is that what were you experiencing that way? Because not having the phone connected with your own friends, but it's the rest of the people around them. And how were you able to handle that? Was it occurring? How often is it occurring? Is the school actually involved when things like that are going on? Because that's my concern. That's why I came here, is because I don't want my kid to have a phone. She's too young, period. There's no kid at any elementary school that requires a phone unless you have a medical need that requires one. But the bullying is what I'm interested in, because it currently happens. And we get told that because she might respond, it's not being bullied. And yes, they are, period. Just because they're now at a point that they're sticking up for themselves is a different problem. So I wonder what that was feeling like.
Yeah, I definitely have not personally experienced anyone bullying me. But I mean, I have obviously been left out of like certain things just because I didn't have a phone to like talk to my friends. But I do think it can be really hard if you don't have a phone to just like fit in with everyone else, like you were saying. Because everyone else in my grade has a phone and is like almost always on it. I'll have to think about that though.
Well, it sounds like that you actually, as you were growing up and you got to high school, you just had a really great group of friends, which is amazing. And I'm hoping that mine will continue finding her people and stay away from the people that are being influenced in a negative way from social media or whatever sources they're getting it from.
Yeah, I have definitely had people be like, oh, you don't have a phone, and like, that's really weird, like, why don't you have a phone? But most of them, I do have a very good group of friends that I've grown up with that will like stick up for me and just like, it's fine, like it doesn't matter. And if they want to reach me, then they'll like email me or they'll talk to my parents or something. So yeah, I do definitely have a great group of friends that don't really care about that.
And I feel like if bullying is occurring like at school, having a phone makes it so that you can be bullied 24/7. Because I've talked to people at school. I haven't experienced it, but I know others have. Like I was in one class where the teachers sat us all down and gave us a good talking to because of some things that had been said in the group chat, and that they got on our case for that. But I know that there's been other times that it hasn't been addressed, and the fact that they have access to it the entire time, it was before I had a phone, but the fact that everyone just was able to constantly add to the discussion just caused it to be like such a bigger thing than it could have if it had just been confined to school hours. Yeah. Also, things come out that you wouldn't say in front of teachers or at school that are problematic.
Yeah.
And I'll say this as a parent, if you feel that your child is being bullied, phone or not phone, and be your own advocate. Be the advocate for your child. Don't be afraid to reach out and try to get the resources. If you don't feel like you're getting those resources that you need, keep fighting, keep being your advocate. Be your child's advocate and don't stop, because there's a lot of resources out there. We just have to know where to find those resources. And it's just, don't give up.
Like connecting with other parents at Oakton Elementary School.
That's exactly actually where I was going to take that. Was one of my actionable takeaways for tonight is reach out to the parents of your kids' friend group, and you can start these little packs. I've heard of other friends that live all over the country that they've created these little like group packs of like, all right, will you wait? I'll wait if you wait. Like let's all wait together. It's like I said at the very beginning, it's much easier to do it together than alone. Although we do have these trailblazers who managed through school. Well done, guys. Really well said, Nathan and Caitlyn. Good job. I'll give a minute for any of the panelists that want to say. Go ahead.
I don't believe it. Just really like a takeaway too, and I know there was some in-depth conversations, just thinking modeling yourself, and I'm sure we are, but it's something that my husband and I have really been working on, is the moment we get home, the phone gets plugged in and it's away. Like, I don't need it, I need to spend time with my kids, my husband does the same thing. So really, like, those small intentional things that our kids kind of notice is, we are the models. Am I a good digital citizen? why am I using technology and what's the purpose? So then that, we have those open conversations. You know, my 6-year-old was talking about something, he's like, I gotta play outside for 2 hours and maybe I'll watch TV for 10 minutes. And I was like, okay, great, he doesn't have any concept of time, but he was like, I'd rather play outside and I wanna have those experiences than necessarily with technology. So again, like really being present and modeling it at home. I know it's hard, we don't do it all the time, like we're not perfect, but that's something that I think is really important.
Yeah, they look up to us, for better or for worse. All right, I have some questions. You have a question, Megan?
Oh, yeah, so I had a question for the students. Nathan, maybe you can speak to it more so too, but I'm wondering, because you have a phone now,
Yeah.
I'm just wondering what, if there's anything that you guys did appreciate about not having a phone, what you really didn't like about not having a phone, and then like the flip side of that, right? Because you have one now, kind of how's that feeling different for you?
I feel like I was a bit more disconnected from people in 9th and 10th grade before I had a phone. And that's pretty much been fixed now. I still don't do social media. Texting is my only contact I have with my friends, which is nice. In this area, you have people that move away a lot. And so it's nice to be able to keep up with them now that I have a phone, which is something that I've missed a little bit before. But yeah, it's been pretty good.
So the average kid, age 8 to 18, spends an average of 7 hours and 20 minutes a day on their phone outside of school.
Per day.
7 hours and 20 minutes per day on their phone outside of school. Now, Nathan and Caitlyn, what were you doing?
So I write. I'm a writer. I've been building a world. Me and some of my friends, we bounce ideas off of each other, and we've been building our own worlds. I also do a lot of arts and crafts, crocheting, cardboard. I do robotics as well. We've been to Worlds 3 times in the past 3 years.
Yeah. Well done.
I do definitely spend like a lot of time just on the computer, even though I don't have a phone. I just spend it on the computer, like doing homework and stuff, because all of our assignments are on the computer now. But I love to read, so I spend a lot of time like at the library and reading books. But I also love to I just have lots of hobbies I like to try. So I like to sew like clothing and like blankets, and I also crochet a lot.
Yes, you guys make it look so easy now, but was it always like were there moments and
Yeah,
what did
you
you
look
say?
at
And
how did you do this?
Yeah.
I drive down the street and I'll see Caitlyn sitting in the tree reading a book. I'm like, man.
We can ask your dad to leave and.
You all can say whatever you want. I'll plug my ears.
I mean, I definitely have wanted a phone and like asked for it occasionally, but and my parents have said that our family rule is just that you get a phone whenever you need it. Like my dad was saying, whenever you can drive around and you need a phone in order to contact people. But yeah, it's just been, I don't know, I've seen the impact phones have on some of my friends. Well, I definitely have wanted to be able to fit in, like you were saying, fit in with everyone and just be able to contact them more. I don't know, I've kind of just gotten used to not having one almost. Yeah, I'm not really sure how you, how other people would cope with that as well, but yeah, I've just gotten, and since I know that once I get my license, I will get a phone, I just have to basically wait until then.
House rule. I like that. Stand firm.
I have a short
By the way, I know it is time check 8:06. We are over time. I promised Principal Kelley that we would be out by 8:30. Well, actually I told her 8, but she said 8:30. We gotta be out. So, yeah. All right.
School night.
Keep that in mind.
Thank you. Okay. So I'd like to share something with you. I got my 12-year-old a Kindle. His grades were great. His mom got him a tablet. His grade took a nosedive. I gifted the tablet. So everything you heard today is actually very true. The question I have for you is I have a 9-year-old who on a monthly basis, it's like a 20-minute drama. Why don't I have a phone? And of course, I'm the bad dad, the too strict. What do I tell her so she wouldn't hate me? You know?
She said, come play at my house.
Jen? I was just gonna say it's okay if your kids don't like you. I know we know that, but in the moment it's like very difficult. But I do think making a we plan, like this is a family plan, like Katie was saying, you know, watching how we use our technology. And this is something that we are doing as a family, so we're gonna sit down and we're gonna create the plan together. This is what we were thinking. We wanna hear from you, and we will be the ones who make the final decision. But I think that it would be hard. I also think it's new, and so everything new is uncomfortable. And who likes to be uncomfortable? None of us. So, you know, even before I think about it, I oftentimes just reach for my phone and start scrolling until I think to myself, or my 6-year-old says, can you put that down?
I think too, like, I have a second grader, and what kid hasn't done second grade? I don't know why, but have had that conversation, and I ask her, what do you need your phone? What do you need a phone for? And she'll say to talk to my friends, and we have a whole conversation. When can we talk to friends? How else can we talk to friends? And hey, I can set up a play date. Why don't we do that? And it's kind of okay, now it's not going to work forever. But really having the conversation, why do you want it? And again, like that purpose, what's the purpose for it? And it's going to be a battle.
Thank you, Kate. All right, we're going to wrap in 1 minute, and then I'll release you guys back into air conditioning. I want to say thank you to all the panelists, to all of you, to our distinguished guests of the law, for coming. This was I learned a lot. I hope you guys had some good takeaways. I think everyone here has my email address. Feel free to stay in touch. We have a WhatsApp group chat. There's almost 50 of us, 50 families in the WhatsApp group chat. There's a QR code at the front. You can just open up the camera on your phone, and you just hit the button. It'll take you to the WhatsApp group chat. You can join and stay in the conversation with us there. And thank you for coming. I'm going to leave with a poem I found online. Mel, do you have a question?
Yes.
Oh, okay. A kid question.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead.
Okay.
Can you hold this?
No.
Okay.
So like, we're mainly supposed to be talking about like how kids aren't supposed to be on phones or whatever. But also my dad likes to go on his phone a lot.
Okay. All right. He's not here to defend himself. I know him, Tuka. Okay. All right.
But like during dinner, like he'll be making dinner, and then like the 15 minutes, like let the water boil, he will be like scrolling through Reddit or whatever.
Okay. So you're speaking on behalf of all like 11-year-olds. How old are you? 11? 10. Okay. So you're speaking on behalf of 10-year-olds. Parents, talk to your kids, right?
Yeah. But like my question is, why aren't we also talking about like what adults should do?
That's kind of like what I said, right? That we as the adults need a model, and maybe that's something, again, like I said, I've had that conversation at home. Maybe you start that conversation at home, right? With mom, that, hey, can we make
we're all work in progress.
This rule, right? Baby steps. But I guarantee if you guys sit down and have that conversation together, dad probably doesn't even realize he's doing it.
Yeah.
Right? Just like kids. We don't realize all the times that we're doing.
That's good that you're here tonight, right? You can talk to them tonight when you get home. Tell them I said hi. All right. All right. So this is a poem. It's by someone named Corey James. It was always the damn phones. I think our parents were right. It was the damn phones. We laughed when we were children, hearing it's that Snapgram and InstaChat and FaceTalk. They didn't understand. They couldn't even say it right. I thought I knew better than them. They didn't know what it was like, having the world at the tip of our fingers. We scroll through the trash so much we have headlines tattooed on our skin, wires for veins, AI for brain, and they may not have understood, but they were right. It is the damn phones. I prided myself on sobriety, on being drunk with only propriety. I was above addiction, a hypocritical notion, for am I not addicted to my own anxiety? Brought on by need for constant stimulation, a drug in my pocket, but can we blame us? We were but children when we were given. We didn't know how to stop it. If I added up all the hours I spent on a screen, existential dread and regret would creep in. So I ignored this fact by opening my phone. And it's not like I can throw away my phone. It's how we communicate. It's how we relate. It's the medicine that is surely making our souls die. I used to say I was born in the wrong generation, but I was mistaken for, do I not do everything that I say that I hate? Exchanging hobbies for Hinge, truth with TikTok, intimacy for Instagram, sanity with Snapchat. I've become self-aware. I'm almost worse than being naive. For I know it's poison, but I drink anyways. The character behind my phone screen has become self-aware. I didn't think about switching pages. All right. We used to be scared of robots gaining consciousness, a lie by the media companies to keep us distracted. As to not ourselves become conscious of the mess they created, we are the robots. We are the product. So I sit and I scroll and I rot on repeat. Sit and scroll and rot. Until my own thoughts are what's being fed to me on TV, until my feelings are wrapped up in celebrities, until my body is a tool of my political identity. So I sit and I scroll and I rot, and I post on the internet. How the internet has failed us. So I may not fail my internet presence. I think our parents were right. It was the damn phones. All right, thank you guys for coming. We have to put your information up front. We have a sign-in sheet, I believe. Grab some food so we don't have to take it home. Thank you guys. See you next time. What's that? We'll put the flyer on our WhatsApp chat. If you join the WhatsApp, throw the flyer on our WhatsApp. I'll send it out via email. Thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Sorry.